Welcome to 10-minute sci-fi thrillers by Rao MLV. The Direction, an original sci-fi thriller story by Rao MLV.
I know I am treading a dangerous path, a very risky one. Moderating two mutually exclusive realities might be impossible, or worse still, more than impossible. Like isolating a tear from an eye, or creating an eye that cannot cry. Some thinker, one of the very few who stood up to my stringent standards, once said, "You can cross an ocean without wetting the foot, but you can never travel a life without wetting your eye." In my life, I've seen many impossibilities become truth, and truth vanish into impossibility. But even in my wildest dreams, I never imagined this. Ever imagined what would happen if a proton fuses with an electron? A catastrophe of global scale, right? I wish it would not happen now. I am eagerly waiting for the two time travelers, two antitheses of reality. And I am to moderate their meeting. The saddest part, or the most thrilling part, is this. Their meeting is being streamed live. Not across screens, but through the NVP transmission sheath. The great-grandchild of your now obsolete satellites. Neural audio-video projection doesn't just transmit across space. It dissolves border. Geographies fade. Languages vanish. Billions are unified, mind to mind, by the power of pure thought, streamed directly into the consciousness of Earth's 100 billion inhabitants. And for the first time in my prolonged existence, I feel vulnerable, as if time itself has become the spectacle. Just before they appeared, I sensed two distinct smells. You might call them the scent of a proton and of an electron. But to me, they are the fragrances of two epochs. One, the sterile perfume of advanced technology. The other, the primal scent of a pristine origin. The transition from Neanderthal to Homo technicus. Then they begin to appear, two streaks of miniature lightning, flickering like a pair of sparks about to rewrite a fuse. The consummation of their time travel complete, they materialized on either side of the table before me. One seated upon a stone, shaped by the patient touch of an ancient river, nature's quiet artisan. The other reclined in a morphing chair, metallic, adaptive, efficient. The first, a child of the earth. The second, Homo technicus, a technocrat of unparalleled intellectual power. The two ends of everything. But both of them are my children. At least, that's how I feel. Well, I don't know what to call myself. A guardian or a moderator. Something in between. I hope. In reality, something far beyond. And the war of words is about to begin. The clash of logic, of science, of reality itself. And we are live. I clear my voice, a tinge of nervousness in the sound. Being watched by everyone, instead of watching everyone and everything, does feel odd. But duty calls, right? For our audiences across the globe, I begin. Please introduce yourself. My voice echoes through the transmission sheath, oddly filtered, distant, as if time itself had caught static. The technocrat doesn't answer immediately. He watches her, as if he were assessing the purity of her fiber and muscle of her thought. For a moment, nothing. Then, a flicker. A spark of mischief curls at the edge of his mouth, rises to his cheekbones. He speaks, softly but sharply.
267 raised to the power of 137, divided by the product of the first 7 prime numbers, from a year 3462 AD.
He tries to sound ceremonial, civil, but the teasing glint in his voice gives him away, as does his intent to belittle. The lady looks at me, puzzled. A puzzle that sounds in her looks nothing less than the sweetening ingredient of her innocence. Billions of minds now tuned in. The past and the future, about to meet at the negotiation table of the present. And we are live. She is still looking at me, with the same puzzle in her looks. I have no choice. I have to respond. That is, a number. Mentally I sighed in relief. Somehow I managed to swallow the word, just before it leaves my lips. I know even my thoughts are being projected into billions of minds. But I can't help it. Oh! I am Dhatri. Her voice is plain and innocent. Both are so difficult natural arts to sustain when we grow up. I know what her name means, Mother Earth. It fits her more than she knows. I've been trying, without much success, to decipher the Technocrat's name.
Ms. Dhatri, we measure time in milliseconds now, considering the rate of our productivity. Shall we continue with our agenda?
I nod. At times, letting things unfold at their own pace is a good tactic for a great moderator. Dhatri's lips part. Mister. She could mouth only silence. The Technocrat cuts in, a little too quickly.
So, you haven't guessed my name, yet you represent your epoch. It doesn't matter. Okay. Call me by whatever name you deem fit.
Dhatri doesn't flinch. I apologize for my lack of sophistication. We remember people by names, not by numbers. The innocence of her voice was unmistakable. Can I call you Mr. Noise? She asks. It's the first word that came to her mind. I smile. Mentally, of course. Is it innocence or a hidden mastery of words? I know, for I've watched both senses of the word sophistication. For some, it means advancement. For others, it means corruption. Now, Dhatri clears her voice. Not to make her voice louder, but to sort her thoughts carefully, step by step. Progress is the ultimate goal, and humans always progress. But what do you mean by progress, Mr. Noise? The Technocrat smirks.
Of course. Progress means achieving complex technologies and complex lifestyles, don't you agree?
His voice drips with condescension. Well, as I lack sophistication. She lets the irony hang in the air. Let me put it my way. Progress is the ultimate simplification of life, to become a part of nature, isn't it? I think deliberately now, so that my thought process is broadcast through every consciousness on Earth. She is going to question the very sanity of direction of time travel. A moderator's duty is not just to make the fight proceed by rules. He's to redefine the rules in the public interest.
What do you mean?
The Technocrat doesn't miss a beat, never one to miss a chance to prove his intellectual superiority.
What you call progress is retrogressive metamorphosis, the sheer stupidity of a backward perspective, and that too from the great representative of an epoch.
Dhatri cuts in, gently though. Please let me revisit our agenda. We come from different epochs that couldn't been more contrasting. And we're talking to the present, where time capsule tourism has become as common as visiting the grocery stores at the corner. She had learned of this very idea of tourism only when a capsule from another epoch arrived. Its occupants were inviting her to a place that was not her past, but someone else's future. It had seemed absurd then. Now it made sense. Another epoch, another set of norms. Her voice remains calm. These people need to understand whether they're going to the primitive or the truly advanced. Isn't that the very purpose of this moderated discussion?
Of course, that's the agenda. And by coming towards our epochs, they are traveling to progressive stages because we are technologically sophisticated. Even a kid out there endorses this. Isn't it common sense?
The Technocrat's voice is gradually making its crescendo, an indication of what he sees as his unavoidable victory. Dhatri smiles in a humble way, which in fact shows a condescension no highbrow could ever achieve, the kind that flows from wisdom, not from pride. Yes, common sense. Such a common phrase, yet so uncommon in existence. Just for the sake of argument, let's assume you are correct. Tell me, is developing powerful eyeglasses more sophisticated than developing the eye naturally?
Of course.
He stops short of saying the next word, because he realizes what that one-syllable word would mean to the outcome of this negotiation. It's like stepping to the edge of a platform, ready to leap, and finding no ground beneath. How do you feel when you come to know everything you believed in is just an illusion? That is what he feels, sheer despair. Still, he knows the value of truth. But losing a battle to a worthy opponent is no disgrace. In fact, it feels like an honor. And then it dawns on him. Suddenly, almost instantaneously, in a millionth of a millisecond, that the stage of technological advancement he represents, the one he thought was the peak, is actually the return to the beginning. That when time travelers think they're heading into the future, they're actually moving into the past. And when they think they're revisiting the primitive, they are, in truth, entering the ultimate future. Seeing the shift in him, Dhatri smiles, purely, softly. We, too, she says, must still journey into our future. The ultimate fusion of life into the first living cell. Some call it nirvana, don't they? With sincerity and grace, the technocrat leans forward and bows. A flicker of light, and he vanishes. Into the past. No, into the future. Dhatri turns to me and smiles. My case rests. And then she too becomes light. A radiant spark shooting towards her own future. Two time travelers on their way home. I remain, and I project this final thought into your minds. Intellectual battles are never violent. They are subversive, yet progressive. Now I must speak, and I will. It was my honor to moderate this dialogue, which, in fact, required no moderation at all. Because your minds are the ideal arena for such deliberation to unfold. I owe you an apology, a social blunder, if you will pardon me. I should have introduced myself at the beginning. I am time, measured in milliseconds or eons. But truly, I exist only in the present. With you. In you. I am a dot in the flow of nature. No magnitude, only existence. As per the question of direction, I leave it to your wisdom. I need to disclose something shocking to you. The proto-electron fusion, remember that? It almost happened. There was a moment brief, almost unnoticeable, when he could have undone everything. He carries in his consciousness a weapon so powerful, so precise, it can erase a timeline with a thought. A gesture. A flicker of emotion. That's all it would have taken. Even now, as he fades from the present, he holds that power. And yet, he chooses silence. Peace. Grace. He goes back to his future not because he must, but because he understands. That is the greatest evolution of all. But before I sign off, let me say just one thing. Progress lies in embracing nature, not destroying it. Beep, beep, beep. The transmission ends. Perhaps the technocrat did not use the weapon to prevent his own destruction? I wish I knew. I hope you have enjoyed the story. And thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed the story, consider buying the author's Sci-Fi anthology on Amazon.